This is the Round 2 podcast with Galen Parker and Stephanie Nicole, where we talk to big thinkers, big dreamers, and big idea havers. Quitting and failing are not the same thing, and we're going to show you why. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the Round 2 podcast starring Stephanie Nicole and Galen Parker. Stephanie Nicole, say hello to the people.
Hey, everybody.
Everybody, that's as good as it's going to get for you guys. And that's all you deserve. Don't try to push her out of her comfort zone. That's my job. Stephanie is exhausted because she just got back from Invest Fest in the Big A. And if you don't know what that means, it means Atlanta, home of Freaknik in the 1996 when we were all children, but our parents know. So just ask them about it, especially when there's people around to make it really awkward. But Stephanie, how did you enjoy Atlanta?
I loved it. Invest Fest is like the Super Bowl for Black businesses. So it's the one event where you have a lot of big names in one room. So you have the opportunity to network, to connect with people, to build businesses. And actually your next business partner is in that room somewhere if you talk to enough people.
Ooh, I like that idea. Is that like kind of like the catchphrase, like your next business partner is in this building if you talk to enough people?
No, that's my catchphrase because that's what it is in real life.
Okay. I like that. You see, they need to get you on the stage. You need to say stuff like that. So when it comes to InvestFest, is it like networking? Is it trying to like, sometimes I like a mix where it's like some of it's just, we try to celebrate and it's like a cheerleading pep rally type of thing, but then also there's some network. Like, what is it? What's the vibe?
So when you walk through the doors, there is just like a big room where everybody is networking, getting to know each other. Then there is another room, which is a vendor's room where everybody has different booths where you can connect with other people. A lot of big names have booths. So anybody that's a speaker most likely has a booth inside InvestFest. And then on top of that, a lot of big, Instagram influencers, they tend to get booths. So, it's a photo op as well as a networking opportunity. And then they have like 3 different classrooms or quote unquote classrooms. So they do panels in one room, classes, and then they do interview style type of things, like type of questionnaires.
Interesting. I'd like to go just to do like little interviews with people, walk around with my camera and just like do a little bit of that. So when are you getting a booth?
I am considering getting a booth next year. So I got it. I need help.
Put it out there.
I need help.
What's your booth going to be about?
I will have to really think about it because it's not. It's an investment. That's all I'm gonna say. It's an investment to get a booth at InvestFest.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get a booth that says "Talk That Talk," and it's going to be all about public speaking, closing the deals by the power of your mouth.
Yeah, and you can just do interviews. People will literally come over there and do interviews with you if you have like a podcast set up. And it's just like, 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
Were there other people that had that, like a podcast set up?
They did.
Oh, okay.
Like a lot of YouTubers.
Okay, I like that. Okay. I would like, you know what I want to do? So one of the things that I've always thought was fun is going to events like festivals and then just bringing your camera and just creating it on the spot. Like you're doing your own thing instead of setting up and just being like, hey, I noticed you're the business owner of this. Tell us about your like doing that. Those things just seemed like really turn out great. Really enjoyable. So I'm glad you went. So you glad you went?
I am glad I went. I think I am going to make some money. I had some people recognize me, and the biggest surprise was there's this page that I interact with that posts me all the time, but it's a faceless page. And I got to see the person behind that page. Like they came up to me, they was like, oh, I'm about to reveal myself because you don't even know who I am until I show you my page. I'm like, wow.
So interesting. That says a lot about a person. Like it's not about them. It's about the content in the page. There is, this is a little bit of a detour. Sorry. But if you guys are entrepreneurs, this is probably something that you should research. Research the Austrian guy who started Red Bull. It's fascinating, guys, because if you're driving to work, you want to get a good listen, feel free to tap into that. He basically, everyone knows Red Bull. Stephanie's drinking Red Bull from the unique can design, but do you know what he looks like? No one knows because he bought a magazine in the town he lives in just so that they couldn't write an autobiography about him and cover him because he wanted his privacy that much. And so he was just like, it's about the product. It's about the product. So you don't need to know what I look like. You don't need to know anything about me.
I love
So that's always interesting when I see people do that. Unfortunately, he passed away and he left the 49% stake of his company to his son. I mean, not unfortunately, it's unfortunately passed away, but he left to his son. His son is 32 years old and he is worth $40 billion. Don't give me anything with a B when I'm 32 years old because you know how I'm gonna act.
you
But
can
it's just
spend
it's a very
$1 billion and then still have a lot of money left.
uh, give me a half a billion. Anyways, it's but guys, if you guys are, I think if you're an entrepreneur, you should focus a lot of your time and energy in learning about other entrepreneurs, and that's basically the entire purpose of this show is for us to teach you a little bit about other people who are struggling, who have failed, who have come up. And a lot of times you guys are just interacting with a conversation between Stephanie, that's my homie. So we're just kind of talking and you guys are like eavesdropping in. But if you want to stay up to date with other conversations we have, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button so that you do not miss out. You see Stephanie throwing those hands. She's not throwing gang signs. She's throwing you follow signs because it's important for you guys to learn. And I am an entrepreneur, but I'm almost more of a student of entrepreneurs. I am what you would call obsessed with the idea of success and failure. I think it's just fascinating. So today, Stephanie and I, we brainstormed these past couple weekends. We brainstormed yesterday. We wanted to do this episode. Obviously, you can tell we don't have any guests. We're back to the core. It's just us two. We want to talk to you guys about what we've learned in the past 90 to 180 days, whether it's something from this podcast or perhaps it's just something we've learned. Maybe she's dropping some bombs that she learned in InvestFest, dealing with people, dealing with flips, people stealing HVAC units, just all types of things that we just wanted to share with you guys. And we got the kind of idea. If you go back a couple of episodes to Dr. Life, Stephanie brought Dr. Life on this episode, on this show, and I haven't been the same since. Because some of the stuff he said just made like my brain like it was like you added carbonation. My brain's just been foaming ever since. But one of those main gems he said is, how dare you not pursue your dream knowing that it could possibly save or change someone else's life. And that statement alone, because he related to Stephanie, he said about you flipping a house. Like, how do you know that the house that you flip and put for sale isn't the house that someone else has got to move into because they got to get their kid out of a bad area or get out of a bad relationship and they need to, I mean, what when he said that, what did you think?
I absolutely love that. There's another quote that you have, something about sharing. Read that quote as well.
Yes. All right. So what she's referring to is the way an ADHD brain works is that a lot of things hit my brain, and so I have notes on my iPhone. If you got it on your other device too, and I go into notes and I just have a list of quotes that I hear and I just write them down because I think I'm going to build a talk out of them or do a team meeting out of them. So the one of the things that I have, it is about sharing, and there's one about gatekeeping and it's one about sharing.
How about the sharing
Gate,
information?
right, man. I like my the thing is just looking crazy on the road, but essentially, what is it's talking about like successful people, they have no problem sharing information and ideas because it's future proofing. And by future proofing, what we mean by that is that if I share with you maybe a little idea that I have, maybe Stephanie hears it and she adds her idea and she grows it, and you grow it down the line of people sharing. So I might say, man, it'd be cool one day if I could just go to the moon, and people will like laugh at you. And Stephanie's like, oh, it'd be cool. Like, I can actually build this cart. If someone could build a propulsion device, we can take it to the moon. And someone else is like, well, I know how to build propulsion devices. And next thing you know, like 8 ideas down the road, we are on the moon. Well, we would have never gotten that far if we didn't share that idea. So it's so important for people to share ideas, share information, and not come from a scarcity mindset. And if you don't know a scarcity mindset, Stephanie, remind them what that whole mindset is.
So, scarcity mindset is when you think from a place of lack. Like you feel like yeah, want to hoard information because you feel like if you give it to somebody else, then there is no opportunity left for you. So that's how you'll operate in life. A mindset of abundance means that no matter, how many other people are doing something, you were able to still come in and be successful. you understand that there is more than enough opportunities out here for everybody. There's more than enough money. All you have to do is, you know, think bigger
Yeah,
and understand and work behind it, of course.
I think it was Jeff Bezos. I know, I thought I wrote it down, but just about that abundance mindset. In his working life, he said, "Do not do the things that everyone else is doing. Don't do the popular things. Don't do the easy things. Do the thing that is immeasurably hard because you want to be a one of one. You want to be unique. You do not want a competitor." And I thought about that. It's like if you isolate something that's awful. There's a lot of people who flip houses. There's a lot of people getting real estate because they feel it's easy, but it's like choose a thing that is just like hard that everyone's like, ugh, I don't want to do that. You will make so much money doing that hard thing because no one wants to compete with you because no one wants to do it at all. And that's how I look at some things I've got like public speaking. That's like people don't want to do the things that I want to do. So, but back to these quotes. So we've got a list of quotes here that have just rattled my soul recently. And the one that we were talking about yesterday, this one says, "Excellence is the capacity to take pain." And I love that so much because, Sevi, have you ever had to do something that was painful, difficult, or hard, but it made you better? I mean, isn't that true? Like, you cannot run from the hard thing. If you want, I mean, you can, but if you want to be Stephanie, you want to have 100,000 followers, you want to have multiple rental portfolio, you want to be a bad bee everywhere, every day of your life. You got to do the hard thing. You can't do the easy thing. And I think a lot of people struggle with that because we all, naturally we have this like let's take it easy mentality. Have you seen people like that? Just like let's just don't stress me, don't pressure me. I'm always like pressure me. I need pressure. Pressure makes diamonds. Pressure bursts pipes. What have you learned over these past 6 months, Steph?
As in regards to the excellence is the capacity to take pain. I do think a lot of society, like how we move, is based off we want to make people comfortable. We want everybody to be happy. But when we really really get into depth on who is the best of the best or the top 10%, while they may make it look easy, there is always some type of pain behind it. So, an example is everybody. We talked about this on a podcast. When I was young, the first thing I ever wanted to be was a ballerina. Until I found out the amount of work that it took to be one of the best ballerinas. So, although they look really pretty on the stage, they have their shoes on and are dancing beautifully. When they take their shoes off, their feet are, yeah, really bad.
Yeah,
So
we've
I was
seen that.
like,
Google image ballerina feet, guys, if you don't know.
yeah. So I like pretty feet myself. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure something else out because I knew I wasn't willing to go through that pain to be excellent. So
Can men have pretty feet?
yes.
Okay, duly noted. Go continue. All right.
Yeah, so that's all I have on the topic. We don't really think about it. Like, what's the some Simone Biles?
Yes.
Yeah, she makes it look easy, but you got to think about how many workouts she does, how many
The
times she practices.
diet, the workout, all that.
Yeah,
Dylan takes tone. He was on our show a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about content creating. But I think it applies to just what you're talking about, like life of just like you have to find the hard thing that no one else is doing, and then make it look easy. If you do that, you'll become wealthy. I think.
yeah,
Like if you take something that's very challenging and you break it down and you make it hard or make it look easy. That's the beauty of it. I found the quote. It says, "Do not do anything. Do it says don't do anything anyone else can do. Avoid competition." And what he meant by that, he's talking about like you want to avoid competition. Do the hardest thing out there. That's how you really avoid competition. I was just like, oh, okay, I like that. I like that. I like that. This quote made me think about some of our early episodes about belief in yourself. And this one it says, confidence can precede achievement. And when you kind of figure out what that means, essentially, I think this was kind of like one of the Walt Disney ones because I've got a lot of Walt Disney quotes. But he's saying that you've got to be so confident in yourself because you're going to doubt yourself, but there's going to be all these other doubters that come in. and they're going to say, "Oh, why do you want to start a cleaning business, a t-shirt business, a wholesale business, social media influencer business?" I was listening to someone the other day that said, "Oh, well, I don't know why there's so many social media influencers. I mean, there's enough already, right?" And in my opinion, I'm like, there are so many people in the world that don't even do social media. I'm like, the social media, like, you've got an untapped market every day of the year, every just all the time. So, but you have to be such a belief in yourself. I mean, 70, when you started out, how would you rate your confidence
When I started out where?
in real estate?
When I started in real estate, I still am an introvert. I am socially awkward. I kind of moved around my entire life, so I never was able to build the skills that is necessary to have like flowing conversations or to make friends, like lifelong friends. So I'm kind of like learning as I go, and I just put myself out there. But to speak to everything that you just said, I feel like, just my opinion, there's no such thing as competition. I think
Mm.
that if you are a person that taps into God's message for you and your purpose on this earth, then there can be no competition because this is what you were made for. So if this is the one thing that you were made for, that is your life's purpose that you're good at, then there's no way that you can be unsuccessful at it, especially if you're willing to do the work every day. We just make up this whole competition thing, I feel like, as an excuse. Like everybody has an excuse as to why they are not the best versions of themselves. But really and truly, it's like, are you doing the work every single day to be the person
Ooh.
that you are envisioning for yourself? And that's for me
Did y'all
too.
hear what she said?
Everybody falls short, but it's about how you recover from falling short. Like you can't fall short every day and then be mad that you're not where you want to be.
Dr. Life, he said, did I know enough? Did I wake up enough? Did I work hard enough? Did I
Yes.
talk to enough people? He was like, that's the issue. It's like a lot of people, like Stephanie said, it's like, are you willing to work hard enough? You can't fail every day and it be
No.
everyone else's fault. It's like, come on, at some point you gotta say, hey, this was me. I like that. I like the idea, like I agree with you. Like there's no such thing as competition. And I think that competition, to me, it's kind of like when you are in your zone and you are working so hard and doing such a hard thing, you look around, like no one, you have to know no one wants to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like no one wants to get in the office at 7 a.m. No one wants to leave at 7 p.m. No one wants to call a bunch of people. No one wants to start these relationships. That's how you avoid competition. You just got to keep working harder and harder. The higher you climb, what did Jay-Z say? The higher you climb, there's only a few faces that you recognize. It's like is Will Smith and Oprah and him. It's like, you just keep going until like there's no competition. I love it. Let's see. All right, what is the this one is a great one for hard workers. Stephanie's a hard worker. I try to be a hard worker. It says the only thing that we can find at the end of exhaustion is a continuous pursuit of excellence. And I love that because that's about working so hard that if you work hard enough, you cannot help but be successful because it's this constant pursuit. It's like never giving up. It's the idea that's like, I don't care what the results are in the short term. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And at the end of all of that hard work, at the end of all the sweat, at the end of all the tears, all the flights, all the trips, all the investment, all the staying inside on the weekends, the not being outside, not upgrading to the biggie value meal, all those things. It is a pursuit of excellence that you will leave for yourself. I love that. Mm. How do you define excellence, Stephanie?
I okay, so I'm one of those like people who think that everybody should kind of like evaluate themselves and figure out where they want to be in life. So what I consider excellence might be like super high for somebody and super low for somebody else. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's whatever your definition of your goal of excellence and what you want your life to look like. So for me personally, I have a high value on freedom. I want to be able to do what I want when I want, not have to worry about money, not have to worry about being somewhere at some specific time. Or I really like, I cannot be like locked down. Like I feel like a job is almost like being locked down. Like you have to be
Punishment.
somewhere from Monday to, like, some people work 7 days a week. Like my mom works 7 days a week. My sister, sometimes she'll work 15 days in a row. So you're saying 15 days in a row, you want me to spend 8 to 10 hours at your establishment? That's almost like jail to me. I'm
I'm
gonna
like,
be
you
honest.
better call. I got to be the owner if I do that. I can't.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, like somebody gotta talk to me because,
we got to
and
talk about profit sharing. If I'm 15 days in a row.
that's
Uh,
not to say, like, that's just because people are doing that, there are people who are okay with that. Like, that's their comfort level. They enjoy it. They love it. They like the guaranteed money. And that's, I mean, that's okay. I don't think that they are less than, or that they have a lack of goals. It's just, what do people want to do for their life? Now, when it comes to excellence, if we're talking statistics, I would say if you are someone to be considered excellent in your industry, you have to be in the top 20% throughout the nation.
mm, I like that. I like, and so for some of you guys at home, depending on what your job is, it might be kind of hard to even figure out what the top 20% is of the graphic tee industry or whatever that your
Right.
business is. But I do appreciate if you try to define yourself by other people's definition of success, you are going to go broke so fast. You're going to be so
And you're going to be
miserable.
unhappy.
You're going to be so miserable. I remember we were first starting this podcast. Man, it's almost been a year. And
Yay.
I was talking about like success. It's like I have such a low cost of living. Essentially, like it's a benefit. Like I forgot who said. I think it was Will who was on our show. When you don't have kids and stuff like that, it's just like, man, the cost of living is just different.
It's
Uh,
different, y'all. I'm trying to tell
I
you.
mean, this is like
$200 dinners because I can. I didn't have daycare this month.
yeah, it's like, man, it's such a wild thought. But it's really like it but for me, I feel like I work for myself. So, did I work 15 days straight? No, I worked probably 50 days straight,
No,
right? You know what I mean? It's just
but it
like
don't feel like work. Like I definitely work every day because I work,
yeah,
but I get to flow with it though.
it's a breathe. There's certain days where people see me and they're just like, "Oh man, Galen, you're just out having fun." And I was like, I was in the office for 12 hours straight for the past 4 days, and no, like y'all didn't say nothing to me about that. But it's just like it's just really how you have to kind of work and strategize and kind of um, make things happen for yourself. All right, so here's another quote. Where is it? It's the gatekeeping one. And 70, I want you to help people understand what is gatekeeping because this is almost outside of business. This almost goes into just culture. Certain cultures, and we're not gonna, but certain cultures just be trying to gatekeep the most nonsensical things. But what is gatekeeping?
Gatekeeping is the activity of controlling and usually limiting general access to something.
So they're basically saying, no, you can't come. It's like a bouncer at a club.
Yeah.
And he's like, nope. And it like his decision as far as who enters is arbitrary. If you go to a club and the bouncer's letting in a bunch of like attractive women, that's natural. But if you're in a club and it's like there's no rhyme or reason as to who's getting let in, and you're looking around like, what is happening? That's to me, that's gatekeeping. And this quote, and I don't have the part, but it says rarely gatekeeping is done by people who love success or fun. And I thought, man, that is so true because people who love success, some of the most successful people that I know, they will give you all of the game. They give you all the game for free. They tell you what they did, what they ate for breakfast, what they ate for dinner, their bowel movement. They tell you everything you want to know because it does. They don't have a scarcity. They want peers. They want someone else to move them, to push them, so that they can kind of enhance their game. But people who love fun, man, I just can't stand gatekeeping. That is that one struck hard with me.
So I'm not a fan of gatekeeping, and the reason why people who are successful don't gatekeep, because number one, a lot of people are not going to put the work in, and that's just data wise, statistically. If you are trying to be really good at something, there is going to be some type of pain. Number two, people, I don't like to gatekeep because I'm a data girl. So is if I'm able to get, other people to do what I'm doing, then I can then audit their data. so I can see what they're doing, what they're successful with, and maybe duplicate it or, you know, recreate it in some type of way so that it works for me. So now I'm not just relying on myself for, you know, to see what works, what doesn't work. I now have other peers amongst me, and then as they get bigger and I get bigger, we can just keep reaching up and putting each other on each other's platform. So a lot of successful people do that. That's why you see, you know, Grant Cardone may start working with other people and then you see them get really popular. Or like a Russell Brunson, because he put a lot of people on, like he put Myron Golden on. So it's like they successful people don't gatekeep because number one, it's going to be a lot of pain. And then the more people you have with data to audit, the better you can get faster because now you have more stats. You can find common denominators.
Control groups and see how things
Yeah.
like why did this work? What you just said made me think. So nerd here, no big surprise to you guys. So
Clear.
there's some directors that I love. So James Cameron's one, George Lucas is one, Peter Jackson one. So Peter Jackson did Lord of the Rings, George Lucas did Star Wars, James Cameron did Titanic, The Abyss, Avatar. One thing that I recently learned, which I thought was awesome, is that so George Lucas, obviously he started Star Wars in the 70s, and there's certain technologies that didn't exist, so he kind of had to create things. So he created like LTD Limited, he did like Lucas Arts, like he basically created like computer programming design companies outside of just the directing to just create the technology he needed. Then later, people like James Cameron, they came to Lucas and said, "Hey, I love what you're doing. Let me learn." And so he would bring them in, and then they would hire his team to do special effects on his other things.
Yep.
Later, after he got bigger, George Lucas and Peter Jackson came to watch James Cameron to learn, like, well, what are you doing, like when you make an avatar and all this stuff? So then he invited them all in to his new graphic design studio so that they could learn. Later, Peter Jackson, who lives in, I forgot where he lives, it's like another country. He started his own design company, and then James Cameron saw what he was doing with like large, like if you ever watched Lord of the Rings, they're big scale battles, and it would look funny if you just did like a computer and just copy and paste every 50th version because you would just see the same people doing the same motions. So he had to like pioneer this idea. So they came to him, and so he would bring them, and it was like all of these people became the top of their field, and they're all working together. They don't believe in competition. Like they were talking about James Cameron, he said he doesn't know how much Spielberg got paid for a movie. He doesn't know who's married to who. He's like none of that stuff made it. Like he has to have a personal finance and an agent to negotiate his deals, because his thing, he's like, oh, you're gonna let me do what I want to do, my dream job? Well, pay me whatever you want. And like his agent has to be like, sorry, hold on, just for 1 second, we're gonna need you to pay him this amount, because if it left up to him, he's just like, there's no competition. We are all just trying to build and create something amazing, and we're bringing each other along. And I was like, man, that's such a wonderful way to look at business building, because
Yeah.
you got to
Yeah.
be out
That's
there.
why when people are up and coming or they get big, it's their friends that are surrounding them because they're all masterminding together, they're learning from each other, they're looking at what works and what doesn't work and having conversations about it. They're like, hey,
Mm.
you do this because if you do this, then you can help me do this and that and the third. Like for me, I may hook up with a bunch of credit people, credit repair people, or business funding specialists or lenders. So it's like we all work together and we just become better, you know, as we grow because we're able to mastermind with each other. And this brings me to this quote because we talked about this from Mike Green. Are you constantly auditing your circle? So go ahead and expand on that, Galen, because I know
This is
you.
why I like you, Steph, because this is exactly where I was thinking about. Oh man, always auditing like my brain. So I wrote down at my notes mentor, right?
Yeah.
Mentor, mentoree. So many of our guests have talked about they've almost all have had mentors, and then they've later become mentorees.
Yes.
And maybe you don't have that yet, but what you can do is what Mike Green was talking about, is auditing your circle. And that means that you have to look around and say, hey, who's going in the direction I want to go,
Mm-hmm.
and who's not going in the direction I want to go. and how much time do I allot to those two groups of people? And the beauty of the thing about an audit is generally it's continuous and it's over time. So
Yeah.
you're constantly reevaluating, like, okay, Stephanie's doing this, Jared's doing this, Mike's doing this, Daniel's doing this. I got to go in this direction, as opposed to so and so's doing that. She ain't doing this, and so I gotta distance myself. That constantly audit your circles will surround you and I'm not gonna bring it in yet because that's my big quote, but that's the one that I always conclude on because that is basically the same line. But you think about that for yourself. Do you have a mentor? And please do not have your mentor just be in the business that you're in. That you fail yourself if you do that. Yes, it's like if you're in construction, yes, you would, but have a mentor in maybe an unrelated field, and that'll help you expand your horizons because they're going to have a look, they're going to have a viewpoint, a perspective on stuff that you won't even think about. But please continue to audit your circles.
Yeah, so I just want to say if you're thinking about the person that you want to be and you have to think about what does that person look like? What type of friends do they have? What time do they wake up? What
Mm,
do they eat? How do they spend their days? And the quickest analogy is if you're a person that is trying to get into shape, maybe you're going to a bodybuilding competition. If you look around and audit your circle and everybody's eating junk food, they're encouraging you to eat bad, they're like, why are you even in the gym? You look crazy. Then those may not be the people that are conducive for the person that you're trying to be. So it's either you're going to sacrifice those people who are holding you from being the version of yourself you want to be, or you're going to sacrifice being that person that you're trying to be. So it's either one of two. I know a lot of people be like, "Oh no, I want to be keep my friends and they love me for who I am." No, you sometimes you got to just look around and say, "Hey, if I'm trying to be a TV show host, do I want my cousin around that tell all my business in a negative light on Facebook? Come on
I
now,
don't feature
bro.
me. No, yeah. Five. I read this not too long. It says A's want to work with A's, B's want to work with B's. The second that an A hires a B, you have now brought your entire industry down because a B will hire a C. And
Yeah,
I thought, oh my goodness, ain't that the truth? That so I love the idea about like looking around as far as where you want to be. Last night, it was like the past 2 nights, I've been thinking, my mom, she passed away from cancer. So I think about like how do you prevent cancer? And obviously it's like getting into shape and it talks about the food you should be eating. And I've been for the past 10 years obsessed with like eating spinach and broccoli and what's the other one? The other green. It's like really. I'm spacing on it, but just eating cruciferous vegetables because I know that those nutrients are what your body needs to fight cancer. So it's like you've got to have that vision of who you want to be. What do you want to look like? What do you want to sound like? Who do you want to associate with? What I don't really think about what kind of car I want to drive, but just the type of life, the type of Stephanie mentioned, the type of freedom you want. And then to round out this whole discussion, as Stephanie just mentioned, this quote is the one that I've been staring at for a week now. This one has really got me. So there was a guy in the 1800s by the name of Anson Burling. It's Burlingame. I wrote down Burlingham, but I researched it's Burlingame. Anson Burlingame. He was a diplomat in the United States. He was an abolitionist. He was a writer, and he and his son memorized a short story about I believe it was like a frog. Well, the person who wrote that short story was a guy named Mark Twain. And most of you guys know who Mark Twain is. Mark Twain wrote this short story basically days after he was going to just kill himself. He was like, listen, if I can't get myself together, I'm going to end it. And I'm struggling. And then he wrote this short story. At that time, this short story went viral. So that's how this guy found out who Mark Twain. Like this is 1800 something went viral. Like basically, it was like everyone heard it. People were exchanging it. This story basically saved his life. So Anson, he meets Mark Twain and he gives him this quote that I've been thinking about and ruminating on. And I'm gonna leave this with you guys. As you're pulling into your office, I want you to take this to heart. Whatever you're doing, do it at the highest plane possible. I believe you have genius. What you need now is a refinement of association. Seek companionship among men of superior intellect and character. Refine yourself and your work. Never affiliate with inferiors. Always climb. Ladies and gentlemen, audit your circle. refine who you are, look around, listen to this podcast. This is a way that you can associate with Stephanie. This is a way you can associate with me and all of these other forward thinking entrepreneurs. Look at how you can be. If you are the same person today that you were last year, or the person you're going to be 10 years from now, that's a problem. That's a problem. But we believe that you can be better than you. And so this has been our wrap up of the past 6 months. We're going to try to do this more often, just to try to kind of distill some of the gems that we've learned from some of these amazing guests that Stephanie's been bringing into this door. And like, I can't write fast enough sometimes when these guys are in here, these ladies are in here. So this has been truly a pleasure. Stephanie, if they need to reach you, they want to talk to you direct on social media, where can they find you at?
You know what? They can find me on Stephanie Nicole RVA. But if you want to talk to me, just make sure you comment on this video and I will comment back and speak to you. We are here. You're here with us. This is where you can reach us. So where else can they reach you besides commenting on this video right now, showing some love? Where
If you want to reach me, you can be _Galen Parker. I'm everywhere and everything. You can now just Google Galen Parker, but if you want to reach me on social media, that's probably one of the best places because I'm outside and I really talk a lot. Like I got videos for no reason, but I believe of keeping a dialogue open about a lot of different things. And so I look to you guys for your advice. I look to Stephanie for her advice. She's going to be calling me out on social media when I'm not posting enough stories. I'm trying to get back in the game. I'm ready for another social media challenge. Put me in the game, coach. Guys, this has been the Round 2 podcast starring Stephanie Nicole and Galen Parker. Thank you guys for listening. Thank yourself. Have a great day.